Submitted for the approval of the Midnight Game Society. I call this The Elder Scrolls Betrayal of the Second Era, Session 2.
Alright everyone, this is Session 2. We are doing the Mage's Quest again right here. The first goal by day 4 is to go to Muthnar down over here, and we have to do like a zombie clash. We're going to start over here in Vivek City. Alright, let's go ahead and go through our players. Alright, first up is the Imperial. They have 6 health, 4 stamina, 2 magicka. They have 2 intimidating presence dice, 2 combat dice, 3 shield discipline, heroic slash, and shield charge right over here. And then for items we have rabbit haunch with cheese grits, golden gauntlets, iron greatsword, and sea giant gloves. Next up is the dark elf. They have 4 health, 3 stamina. They have rapid maneuvers, and then the fleet phantom die. They have 3 magicka, 2 combat dice, 2 shock force dice, 1 destructive touch die, 1 pulsar die, and 1 ancient knowledge die. They also have Dram of Detection, Worm Cult Sabatons, Miming, Poison, Tranquility, Pale Ale, and Calcinium Mace. Next up is the High Elf. They have 4 health, 3 stamina, 4 magicka, 2 shield discipline dice. They have Daedric Curse, Bound Armaments, Expert Summoner, Summon, 1 combat die, Hasty Prayer, Breath of Life, and Purge die. And they have a Glyph of Poison Resist and Lothin's Burning Crutch. Last up is the Nord. They have 4 health, 4 stamina, 4 combat dice, 3 snipe dice, volley die, vine dusk training die, scatter shots, and then for items they have short bow and a magician monkey right there. Alright, on day 1 we have to do a town action right here in Vivek City. Let's go ahead and get that set up. Alright, first we have 3 common items right over here. Fishy Sticks, Morgatong Bracers, Maple Bow, and then we have 4 legendary items. Silver Dawn Jack, Spectral Chicken, Signet of the Worm, and Conjurer's Potion right over here. Let's go ahead and grab the skill trainers. Alright, we have Destructive, Staff, Light Healing Light, Heavy Armor, Two-Handed, and then we also have another heavy armor. Alright, first up, the Dark Elf's going to grab the Conjurer Potion. Allows them to get like an untrained die, like a level 4. You get to roll it 1 time and then it has to go back. So this is really cool for a good moment. We're going to actually go ahead and put it in their pack right over here. Alright, the Dark Elf is going to grab a quest from the quest board. We have Scourge of the Underworld and a Simple Token. So this one's going to be pretty easy to complete. We'll grab an item, go to a peaceful landmark, and then you get to get an experience, and then in the meantime, you can use the item in Lucis quest or Scourge of the Underworld. You're going to have to flip over a bunch of bandit enemies over to their harder side, and you're collecting them on here. You have to get 5 or more. You'll get like an extra experience, free shop action, and then this also gives you a nice keyword for the end. I'm going to grab this Simple Token because I want to complete the Bard quest later in this session, and you have to have another side quest completed. This one's nice and easy. Let's go ahead and grab this. Alright, so we're going to put the Simple Token quest right here. We got a Grim Harlequin Jerkin. We could use this if we want, but we're going to actually stay good with our items right there. Next up is the Imperial. They're going to grab Morag Tong Braces right here. These are pretty good for when an enemy engages you. You get to deal 1 damage to enemy, and then this damage ignores defense. Let's go ahead and replace one of our gloves right now. I have to replace the golden gauntlets right here right now, but we can always keep this in the pack and use it later when we overtax this. Alright, the Imperial is going to grab a quest right over here. We have these 2. The pesky one right over here is we can do a bunch of different quests in a peaceful landmark. I'm thinking about grabbing this one because we already have to go to a peaceful landmark for the other quest. And then we have like options of how to get bonus experience or to get bonus items. Morrowind's Shadow says if we are in Morrowind and are not on a Dark Brotherhood quest, we have to not to mess with the assassin, discard this and draw a new one. Let's go ahead and do that. We now have Loafing Around, which is also really similar. You're going to get a piece of loaf and you have to go to a peaceful area, and you discard this and get experience, and then everyone gets to draw an item. So like my thought between these 2 is I'm probably going to grab Loafing Around because these give extra town actions, but other than grabbing items, I'm good on most town actions. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the Loafing Around. Alright, we're going to grab the quest right here in the item. We can technically use this, but then we'll lose the quest. We're going to save that for the Bard quest that I talked about later. Alright, the Nord's next. Their town actions are easy. The Maple Bow gives them an increased range. This is going to help them get to their master side of their class. And then Signet of the Worm is going to be really good later on. we get to do a bunch of damage to everyone within a targetable range, so that's going to be crazy good. All right, let's go ahead and place that one there, and then that one right there. Last up is the Dark Elf. We're going to grab 2 items from the shop. Silver Dawn Jacket, it can prevent some damage, and the Spectral Chicken prevents some fear effects on us. All right, let's go ahead and place the Silver Dawn Jack right there, and then the Spectral Chicken right over here. All right, we have to do the Province effect. Delandra is going to be digging right here for artifacts. We're going to try to prevent as much as possible. This symbol right here means we move it up by 2. 1, 2, every time you go over 3, you get 1 excavation that happens, and then our final quest is going to be harder. All right, at the end of the day, we turn the day counter to number 2. All right, for day 2, my strategy is try to work our way towards Muthnar down over here, and then we also want to get a peaceful event because we have the side quest. So this place is perfect because it's working our way for day 4 for that. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. We're going to go ahead and do the peaceful encounter. Right, we end up getting a hunter-gatherer right over here. We have 2 options. The top one is like a little gamble. We don't really need items, so I'm probably going to do this one. We get to survey the tracks that we found. We're going to draw a random enemy from the level 1 or 5 bag, place it in level 10 or 20 bag, and later on when we're setting up a battle, if we ever draw that enemy, it counts as either the level 10 or 20 at the time that we're drawing it, which is really good to weaken a huge enemy. Since we're at high EP right now, it's going to lower a 20 to a 5. All right, let's go ahead and do that. All right, just going to go in here, grab one, and then drop it into here. All right, it's good. All right, we will be getting 1 experience for that event, but then also we have the simple token quest. So we have to discard this item, and then we also get another experience. Let's go ahead and do all of the experience. All right, the Imperial gets 2 experience. We could do a lot with this. We could try to get more health, but I think we want to get another combat die, just rolling more dice with them. Now that they have like a cooldown of 3 and they can roll 4 dice, it's probably a good idea to do more damage. Let's go ahead and place that down right over there. All right, the Dark Elf is going to get 2 experience right here. We could get another die, but I think we want more range and more dice to roll. So we're going to go ahead and spend 2 to increase our magic up by 1. We still have 1 left for later on. All right, the High Elf is next. We get 2 experience right over here. We can get some more healing dice, but I want to save for this level 4 summon die. So we need 1 more experience. So we're going to have to hold off for now. Last up is the Nord. We get 2 experience right over here, but then we're going to spend all 3 to get another stamina right here. This is going to make our range 5, and with one of our class abilities, we can get to 6, and finally flip over to the master side. Right now onto the province effect. We got this symbol right here, which means we can either increase the dig by 4, which would make the excavation artifacts go up by 1 for Delandra, but we can then choose to skip 3 movement points, which is our natural movement points, that have this not go up. So that's what we're going to do, and you'll see why next turn. All right, we then change the day to round 3 right there. We now get to move on the map. We have no movement points, but we can spend a light fatigue on everyone for each movement we want. We're going to go ahead and do this unstable location, so that's going to be 1 fatigue from everyone. The Dark Elf gets a light fatigue, the Imperial gets a light fatigue, the High Elf gets a light fatigue, and the Nord gets a light fatigue. All right, now we have to roll the unstable die. Anything is good for me. It's just afterwards we get 2 tenacity for everyone. All right, we get a peaceful event. Let's go ahead and do that. All right, we end up getting the Love of Mother Morrowind right here. And then on the back, we have to choose this option because it's unstable. We're going to have to make a social check and get 16. There's no way that's going to happen because you need tenacity for social checks. We have 0. We could roll some speech dice, but we'll only have 2 of them. I think the highest we could get is like 10 on the 2 dice if we get lucky, so it's still not 16. Regardless, we're still going to get our experience for this, and we have a persistent the next time we have an overland encounter with a clash. We're going to skip that and then go straight to the rewards, and then we each get a bonus experience and then discard this card. All right, let's go ahead and do the 1 experience and then the 2 tenacity for the unstable die. All right, so we go up to 20 right over here. All right, the Dark Elf gets 1 experience and then 2 tenacity right down here. We could spend the experience on another acrobatics die. I think we're just going to save up for 1 more experience to go ahead and get that last destructive staff die. The Imperial is going to get 1 experience right over here and 2 tenacity. There's nothing too crazy we want. We can get another health, but we're going to just save up for either like a combat die, cooldown, or another one-handed shield die later on. All right, the High Elf's going to get an experience right here and 2 tenacity to go up to 2. We do finally get to get our Tempered Soul die right over here. This costs 3. We're actually going to untrain. No, we don't have to untrain this. We could. We are allowed to go into one-hand sword and shield and use this, but later on, I do want to untrain that so we can get another summoning die. Last up is the Nord right here. We get an experience and 2 tenacity, but I don't think we need to grab anything. We're going to just want to save up for like a combat die. We have 2-handed because we got the randomness from session 1. We could maybe work towards that at some point, but yeah, we're good now. Maybe cooldown. Cooldown is probably the next one to go for. Okay, now we do the province effect. There's 2 symbols right here, so we have to do them from left to right. This one does the dig track by 1 right here. We're still not past the point to get an excavation, but this symbol right here does 2 spots, so we don't overextend, we just go to 4, which brings it down to 0, and Delandra gets 1 artifact excavated right over there. And get the rest, that removes the Dark Elf's Light Fatigue, Imperial's Light Fatigue, the High Elf's Light Fatigue, and the Nord's Light Fatigue. We go ahead and change the day counter to 4. Right now for the party, we have to get to Muthnar. It's recommended to do this for the Mages Guild quest by day 4. It's 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces away, so everyone has to spend a Light Fatigue to get there. So let's go ahead and do that, and then we're going to have a special class to set up. The Dark Elf gets a Light Fatigue, the Imperial gets a Light Fatigue, the High Elf gets a Light Fatigue, and the Nord gets a Light Fatigue. Alright, let's go ahead and set this up, and I'll talk through some of my strategy after I set up. So we're going to go ahead and place the common items right here. We have a zombie that we have to defeat everyone, but this is going to give us like a plague sample that's part of the Mages Guild quest. We're going to go ahead and the Harpy we drew first is going to be right over here. It has Elusive and Native. Dremora right here has Arcane and Daze. That's going to go right down over here. We then have the Goblin Butcher. It has Disrupt, Maim, and Rot. That one's going to go right over here. And then the last one is the Breton Archmage. It has Arcane, Siphon, and Necromancy. We're going to put that right over here. Now let's set up the heroes. The Imperial is going to go right over here. We're going to probably give them a first player marker. Then the Nord's going to go right over here. Then the High Elf in the back. And then the Dark Elf right over here. All right, I'm going to look these over and tell you like my priority for who to defeat first and why. All right, before I start rolling dice, I see the Breton Archmage over here. I think they're #1 priority. They have Arcane, so they're going to do true damage. They have Siphon, so they take health from everyone and put it underneath themselves. And they have Necromancy, so if I defeat someone first, they actually get to resummon the unit with, I think it's like going to be 4 health chips. It has range 5, which reaches everything. So yeah, it's going to be way too much true damage. So that's target #1. I think that Dremora is going to be my second target here. It has Arcane, which is also the true damage, which is painful. Daze is kind of annoying, but I can work around it. The zombie up here, I'm going to try to have the Dark Elf get a destructive die to just defeat a level 1 enemy. That's the only useful destructive touch die that they can use here. Everyone else is 20. The Goblin Butcher is annoying, but that's fine. The Harpy is elusive, so I have to start next to them anyways. So yeah, those 2 are going to be like the last targets. Let's see how this progresses. Right, we're going to have the Imperial go first, so we're going to give them the first player marker right there. They're going to move 4. It's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. They're going to go right here just so they can take the damage and then attack everyone. It's one-hand sword and shield. Let's go ahead and take an engage on the Breton Archmage. Going to roll 3 shield discipline dice and then the shield charge die right here. It has 6 health and 2 armor, so trying to do 8 damage. The shield charge die is the important one. Let's go ahead and see what we got. Ooh, that's not too good. We do have our Bard ability to reroll this right here, so we're going to reroll that. We're just trying not to get tenacity right there. All right, that's good enough to be a 1 for me on either side. So that's going to be 2 damage. Let's go ahead and do that. So 2 armor blocks that, but we place them in our active slots right over here. We then use the shield charge. We can then recover these and do 1 more damage for each dice we recover. It's nice because we get to put it right over here. So that's going to be 2 more damage. We also get a tenacity, so let's go ahead and get the tenacity right here and then apply the 2 damage. All right, so the 2 damage right here, 1, 2. There's still 4 health left. We're just going to take another engage action by using a light stamina to go ahead and engage the Breton Archmage. All right, so we put the light fatigue right here. We're going to grab 2 shield discipline dice, a combat die, and then the heroic slash. We're just trying to do a bunch of damage here. All right, let's see what we get. It has 4 health left and 2 shields, so we're trying to do 6 damage. It looks like we got the heroic slash, so it's going to be 1 damage there. 1 damage right there to get rid of the shield. Let's go ahead and then resolve all of this. Let's first up get the tenacity to go up to 4 right here. We then do the 1 damage, 2 damage, but that it has 2 shields, so nothing goes through. But then we use the heroic slash right here. We get to deal 2 damage to the target for each one of these in our active slots. So that's gonna be 2 damage goes through. So the heroic slash got to do 2 damage, 1, 2. It has 2 life left. So now I'm thinking I can add another engage. We're doing pretty good. I have a lot of dice here, but it's easy to recover for me. I have a lot of items and I have a lot of time. So I'm going to do another engage to try to just remove the Archmage right here. I'm going to use some intimidating presence dice. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's gain another light fatigue for the other engage action and grab the 2 intimidating presence dice. We just have to roll a 2 or less from the total of these 2. All right, let's see what we get. We got a total of 3, so any unit next to us with 3 or less health we get to remove. Let's go ahead and do that. So when you remove an enemy, it goes back into the bag right here instead of getting defeated for defeated purposes. These 2 dice get drained over here. There's nothing else we can really do, but that's pretty good. And then we have a tenacity if we need to help someone ignore a shield. All right, the Nord's up next. It has the class ability at the beginning of the turn, do 2 damage to someone within range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All of these units have armor, so we can't do anything. We're gonna go ahead and do it on the zombie. The Dark Mage is probably going to take care of it, but just in case, we're going to do that right there. All right, the goal for the Nord is to take out the Dremora. It's going to move first right over here. It's 2 spaces away, so it can use its short bow. It's going to engage the Dremora. It's also going to use Scatter Shot, and it's going to hit this Goblin Butcher. The goal is to take out both of these, so let's go ahead and get the dice and then also get the tenacity. The short bow right here gets us a tenacity to go up to 3. We get to roll 5 dice. We're going to do 3 snipe dice to ignore armor, scatter shot to hopefully hit another enemy, and then the combat die to do more damage. We're also going to use the Reveler because it's once per combat. Combat's kind of drawing to a close right here to get 3 more enemy combat dice. It's 1 plus 1 more for each of these 2 weapons we have. All right, the goal is to roll 9 damage. We can take out both of them. We do get 1 reroll. Let's go ahead and see what we get. We have 1, 2, yeah, we ignore enough armor. Let's go ahead because this is going to ignore 3 armor. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 damage. That's not quite 9, but we do get to hit 2 targets. I don't think I want to reroll any of this. I guess we could reroll this one. No, we don't. It's not going to get there. So yeah, 7 damage between 2 targets. Let's go ahead and do that. Not exactly what I wanted, but that's going to bring this all the way down to 2 life right over here. And then also the scatter shot lets me hit another enemy. And then the snipe dice also get to ignore the same amount of armor, so all of it. So let's go ahead and do that and think about what we do next. Go ahead and place the scatter shot and the snipe dice all right over here, then the combat die. Actually, the scatter shot's not as important anymore, so we're going to put that one at the end. We thought about it. We're trying to finish off the Dremora. We're going to use lethal arrow right here. We spend our 3 tenacity right here. Get to roll 2 enemy combat dice, and it's going to be true damage. We're just trying to do 2 damage. We'll have our reroll from our bard, so let's see if we can do 2 damage. We're good, right? Let's go ahead and remove the Dremora from the map right there, and everything's going as planned so far. All right, we're going to do the High Elf next. We get to recover 1 light fatigue right here. We get to move 3 spots. Let's go ahead and go 1, 2, 3 right over here so we can summon next to the elusive monster. We're going to roll the summon die, expert summoner, bound armaments, and we're going to go ahead and roll purge right here. Nothing too crazy we're looking here. We definitely want to summon and get the bound armaments to go ahead and start getting next to the harpy. All right, so cool. We get to summon an Atronach. We can re-roll this, so we're going to re-roll it. We're within 2 of the Imperial Bard. We just don't really need tenacity right now. All right, let's go ahead and set all of these up. Let's first do the Atronach. All right, we're going to place this right over here next to the elusive harpy, so hopefully next turn it gets to attack it. All right, so this die, the Atronach, gets drained right here. We're going to put this expert summoner. It's a 3. So now every time the companions controlled by the high elf go, they get 3 more combat stat and 3 more movement. And then you take it down after they take an engage. Let's go ahead and get its tenacity right up over here. And then we'll put this purge up here in the active slot. You can heal 1 and get rid of someone's status die. All right, last up is the dark elf here. We have a range of 4. We can't go after the harpy because it has elusive. So we're just going to try to take out the goblin butcher. And then we're also going to try to take out the zombie. We get to move 3, 1, 2, 3 right over here. All right, we're going to roll 2 force shock dice, this phantom fleet die right over here, and then the destructive touch die. All right, let's see what we get right here. This is going to be okay. Cool, this is going to be enough to take out the Goblin Butcher. This, we are within 2 spaces of Imperial. We're going to re-roll. We want to get the free movement. It helps us get the elusive enemy. You'll see that later on. And this is going to let us get rid of the zombie. All right, it has 2 health and 2 armor, so the 4 shot get rid of this. It has rot, so we have to get over fatigue. All right, let's go ahead and put those right there, and then afterwards to over fatigue. The destructive touch die lets us get rid of a level 1 or 5 enemy. It's going to be this one right here, so it has rot, so we're going to get another over fatigue. But because it had 3, 6, 7 health. We have to get rid of 7 health from all adventurers and try to spread it out. So 1 on the dark elf, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 more on the dark elf, 6, 1 more on the high elf, 7. All right, destructive touch in here. the Phantom Fleet right here, or actually we get the Over Fatigue first, then the Phantom Fleet to get more movement later on. All right, that's the end of the Adventure's turn. The Atronach as the companion can go next. We have Expert Summoner, so it gets to roll 3 more dice, so it's going to attack the Harpy because it started its turn next to the Elusive Harpy. It gets to roll 4 dice, 1 plus 3. The Imperial is going to spend 1 tenacity right over here to help out with Stagger and Sway, so they get to ignore 1 defense. All right, the Harpy has 6 health and 2 defense now. We're just trying to do as much damage as possible. Right there, we do get to reroll for the Bard. Every unit gets a reroll. All right, just trying to do more damage. So we get to do 4 damage minus 2 defense, 2 health go through. All right, let's go ahead and remove the 2 health right over there. That's the end of the Adventure's turn. But for using a summon, this has to go down to 2. Then we're going to go ahead and use Purge to heal up the Imperial for 1, just in case. Okay, let's go right here. We're just doing this because this Harpy gets to roll a lot of dice. The enemy's turn, and I did not realize this, and it's way too late. The Harpy can attack everyone, and it has range 2, so 1, 2. So it's going to be all of these, but the Dark Elf gets to roll 3 combat dice. It also has its native skill, which means afterwards, these 4 are going to get a blind die. Let's go ahead and roll that. All right, it's pretty rough. Completely forgot about the range. All right, let's see. We can make them re-roll the ones to try to get a miss, but I think there is 1 miss and 1 2, so we just don't want a 2 to happen, so we're just going to go ahead. It's going to be 2 damage going through. Imperials can use their metal to ignore up to 3 damage and then get tenacity instead. Sorry for the knockover. All right, all the way up to 5. The Dark Elf has the Worm Cult Sabaton, so we get to ignore 1 of the 2 damage. Let's go ahead and remove the 1 right there. Atronach right here has 1 defense, so it only takes 1 damage right over here. High Elf has the Silver Dawn Jack, so they get to prevent 1 damage. Let's go ahead and remove the 1 health right there. Ooh, that was close. And then the monkey over here can take up to 6 health for the Nord, so he's going to be a good monkey and take the 2 damage right there. The Imperial gets a blind die. The Dark Elf gets a blind die. The High Elf gets a blind die right here. The Nord gets a blind die right over here. And the Atronach gets a blind die right here. I just realized I messed up. The Dark Elf wasn't in range, so we're going to move this in the blind die that we just gave him. We changed the round counter to round 2. The Imperial gets to recover these 3 dice right over here, like that. All right, we do have blinds, so we will attack anyone, and the person has to be with the highest health, which is going to be the Atronach. So we're going to move 3, interrupted to a lockpick, and then we'll go back to engage the Harpy. So it's going to be 1, 2 right here. Let's go ahead and roll the lockpick. We have 3 attempts to get 6, 1, 6. We don't really care about adding that much fatigue. All right, so we got a 6. We're going to spend a fatigue to increase this to a 6 right here. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's place that right over here. All right, so now we need, this is the second die roll. Let's go ahead and get a 1 or a 2. Oops, jumped out. Doesn't count. Has to be, it was a 2, but has to be in the basket right here. Sorry, I have to move that over. All right, that's not good enough. Last one, and then we'll think about if we want to use fatigue to get the item. It is just a common item. Ooh, a 3 right here. We are going to spend a 2 fatigue to get it, so let's go ahead and see what we get. Got a Quicksilver Dagger. Right, here's the 2 light fatigue right over here, and then we're going to put the dagger in our pack right here, and then continue our movement. All right, remove the cache chip right there from the map. Then we're going to go right over here, and then we're going to go ahead and engage the Harpy. We're going to spend 1 tenacity on Stagger and Sway to ignore 1 defense. We're going to grab Shield Discipline, Shield Charge, and then 2 combat dice. All right, it has 4 health left and 2 armor. Let's go ahead and do as much damage as possible. We do have a reroll. Oh, this is going to be good. I think this does a damage for each shield dice that we have. Let me check that. Yep, I was correct. So this is going to do 5 damage, 6, 7, 8. That takes out the Harpy. All right, we're going to remove the Harpy right over here. We're going to go ahead and place this all down over here. Ooh, I didn't realize also I'm just going to get over fatigue. And then also we're just going to put this down right here. Right, the Nord gets to go next. We have a cooldown of 3, but then there's really nothing important for us to do, so that's the end of their turn. Beginning of the High Elf turn, we're going to use the healer ability to take a light fatigue right here, and then we get to heal ourselves up for 1. All right, we're going to put the 1 health right over here. And then we are going to move 3 spaces. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3 and try to lockpick that. All right, we're going to have 3 attempts to get 2, 3, and 1. 1's probably the hardest right here. So it looks like we got 2. We could spend a light fatigue to get that down. We're just going to save our fatigue right now. Let's go ahead and do the second roll. So we're looking for 3 and 1. Let's go ahead and set that aside. Let's see, that's it, good. All right, and then the last one right here. It's going to be everything in this. It is just a common item. They are good items. All right, ooh, I have to spend 3 light fatigue. I'm going to go ahead and spend the 3 light fatigue. Let's see what we get right here, a steel maul. All right, let's get the 3 light fatigue right over here and then put our item into our pack right here. And then now it is at the beginning of our turn. Oh, I forgot to do this. I'm sorry, the 3 cooldown. because that's beginning of the turn. Then we were supposed to do cooldown. So that, and then the blind is gone. And then we are going to take an engage action. We're just going to try to do some healing. So we're going to go ahead and roll these 3 healing dice right over here. All right, we're just trying to get as much healing as possible. We aren't close enough for a reroll. So this is going to let someone roll 4 dice and heal. And then this one also gets to heal 1 and 1 status die. Let's go ahead and think about who we're going to do this to. All right, we thought about it. The purges can be for the Imperial right here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they're at max life. But more importantly, they remove 1 die from this crazy cooldown track right here. All right, and then for our Breath of Life, we have to remove this cast ship from the lockpick earlier. For our Breath of Life, it has to be someone within our range. So range 4, 1, 2, 3. They're Dark Elf. They get to roll 4 enemy common dice. We're just trying to get them full up. All right, we just have to get at least 2. All right, we're good. We got 6. Let's go ahead and place 2 health right over here. All right, let's go ahead and put the Purge in there. Breath of Light right over here, and then get 1 Tenacity to go up to 4 like that. All right, the Dark Elf is up next. They have 3 cooldown, and then the Over Fatigue slides right over here. We're going to go ahead and put these back. We got the Grab My Necrosis chip, so I'm going to put that right over here. All right, that's the end of the clash, so let's go ahead and do the rewards. All right, we're going to all get 2 experience, but before that happens, we get a Plague Sample card. We just go ahead and take a card right here, keep it face down, and it says it's going to help us for the final part of the quest. And then we're going to go to this part right here, BO2. So let's go ahead and do the rewards real quick. We go up to 22, but we have to flip this over to go to the 22 right over here. All right, the Imperial is going to get 2 experience and go up to 3, but then we're going to spend all 3 for this Power Bash die right here. It's going to do a bunch of damage. The Dark Elf is going to go all the way up to 4 experience, but then we're going to spend 3 of it for this die right over here. Elemental Drain. All right, the Nord's going to get 2 experience up here and go up to 3. We're going to save it for increasing the cooldown later on. And then last up, the High Elf gets 2 experience to go up to 3, but we're going to spend all of it for this Honor of the Dead die right over here. Actually, that's only 2 experience to go up to 1 right there. All right, the next part of the quest is a little wordy. I'm going to try to summarize it and then show you some pictures on the map, but bear with me. So the goal by day 10 is to go to Narcissus and to have 8 plague samples. Having any extras will give us an extra item that we can use right over here. And to get plague samples, during the adventure's rest step, each adventurer can exhume corpses or seek out the local infected to be able to do 2 different things. One is rolling a die, another one's just getting light fatigue. And then you can, there's bonuses for what class you are and stuff like that, or if you're on a dig site. And then overall, there's another place to get samples is to end a day occupying Tormented Spire, Mournhold, or Kragenmoor. And then you can get a sample, but you have to log these visits in your journal. So let's go ahead and show you some of that. All right, so right over here is Narcissus. I misspoke earlier. We need 16 samples. Here's Kragenmoor, Tormented Spire, and Mournhold. So we get to stay around here is kind of like the strategy. But yeah, that's the goal right now for part 2 of the quest. All right, onto the province effect change right here. We increase the dig by 2. So let's go up right over there. All right, during the rest step right here, we're going to pick to remove 1 light fatigue, but then we are going to seek out the local infected. We get a light fatigue equal to our plague samples, which is going to be 1, but then we also have to get a Bane die. So let's go ahead and put that right there, but then we get a plague sample. Let's go ahead and add number 2 sample right over here. Right, at the rest step for the Dark Elf, they're going to get rid of an over fatigue, and then they are going to seek out the local infected to get a light fatigue for each sample. We have 2 right here, and then to afterwards get a Bane die. Let's go ahead and grab our sample. Let's go ahead and put that right there, 3 of 16. All right, the High Elf gets to go next. They get to heal up 1. They're going to remove the light fatigue, but then they are also going to seek out the local infected, but because they're a healer, instead of them getting 3 light fatigue, because we have 3 samples, they get 2. Then they also get the Bane die like this. Let's go ahead and grab our sample. All right, now we have 4 of 16 right there. All right, the Nord's going to heal up 1 right over here. And then they also get to remove a die for the rest step. We're going to get rid of the blind die right here. And then we are going to use the exhume corpses. So we roll a d6. That's how much light fatigue we get and a Bane, but then we get a sample. All right, let's see what we get here. The lower, the better. Ideally, the other way would have given us 4. So cool. It's good. We get 3. All right, let's add the 3 right here. And let's go ahead and get our sample. All right, we now have 5 of 16. We're on our way. We then increase the day counter to day 5. We're then going to move to Mournhold right here. This is one of the places where we can get extra samples. Let's go ahead and set up the town. Mournhold, we are right here. There's going to be a bunch that happens. Let's go ahead and set up the Royal Bazaar. So it's going to be 3 common items right over here. 1, 2, 3. Space is going to get tight. And then there's going to be 5 legendaries. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right over here, and then 6 skill line trainers. So we got the shadows, heavy armor, bow, speech, 2-hand, and then Daedric summoning right there. All right, we all get an extra town action, but this is the first time we visited, so we have to write that down in our campaign journal. And then we have to do a speech social check of getting 16. That's not going to happen. So we have to choose one of these. Each adventurer has to choose one of these 4 different ways to be able to stay in the town. The first one is to bribe, discard 2 legendary or 4 common items. That's rough. The second one is to drain 2 available speech dice and insist you're important in the group. And then the third one is explain that you're already registered if you're a dark elf. So that's going to be nice for our dark elf, or patiently wait and then just take no town actions this time. I'll go around. So let's go ahead and do that. Hero is going to spend their 2 speech dice to insist they're important. So they're good. Dark elf claims that they're already registered, so they're good. The high elf is unfortunately going to discard 2 legendary items. The crutch didn't really do much. I didn't really see its use. And then we're going to go ahead and get rid of the spectral chicken here. We haven't had to worry about fear so far. Nord really likes their legendary items, so unfortunately they can't take any more town actions. Right, the Imperial's first in action is going to heal up everything. Well, we're good in health. We get to recover all of our dice. So let's go ahead and put all of these back like this right over here. That was super useful. And then we get these intimidating presence dice back, and then the Bane's gone. We're going to grab the domino pig right there. I think that's how you say that. This is going to be really good because it's going to lower the round counter if we have like a tight round battle. We're going to go ahead and put it right over here and put these sea giant gloves in our pack right over there. Also going to go ahead and use this right here, the Pilgrim on the Road. We're going to spend 2 tenacity to go ahead and grab their quest. All right, we're going to put this right up over here as a reminder. We have 4 different steps to do. We're going to do this so we can flip over the bard to their master class side. The first part is as a free town action, adventurers must discard up to 4 items. Any food counts as 2. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, we're going to choose these 3, 2, 3, 4 items. Let's go ahead and put a chip for part 1. Next part is an adventurer must defeat a level 20 enemy. The dark elf is next. We do have loafing around, so at the end of this, we are going to discard this. We trade it in. We're going to get 1 extra experience for the rewards, which is just the 1 experience, and then everyone's going to get a common item. So we're going to go ahead and keep that up here. First action is taken in action. Let's go ahead and get rid of all this right over there. Our health is already good, so we're set there. We're going to go ahead and grab the silver circlet. The necromancer thing hasn't done too much for us, and this allows us to spend 2 tenacity to change a die of a level 1 or 2 skill to the side of our choice. I'll probably use this with destructive touch. I'm going to swap out the miming poison right over here for the silver circlet. The high elf is going to take an in action to remove all of this right over here as their first town action that they get to spend, like that. We're then going to grab an item right there, Potion of Heroism, to expend this, get an over fatigue, then we get to defeat a level 5 targetable enemy. Almost forgot the health right here for the in action, like that. Right, we now get to get our rewards, 1 experience for loafing around, and everyone's going to get an item. Right, we're going to get 1 experience right over here, and then we end up getting the rat skewer bow right here. All right, we're going to get 1 experience right over here. We're going to end up saving that experience. There's nothing we really want to get right now. We get an item, we end up getting this High King's Nose Warmer, card this, or the Golden Gauntlets. We don't really need this, so we're just going to discard this. All right, the High Elf's going to get 1 experience to go to 2 right here. Also doesn't want to spend it on anything. We're going to save up for 3 right here for another die or to get cooldown. And we get an item right here. We end up getting Hickory Ice Staff, which is pretty nice to get a weapon. That's pretty lucky. All right, the Nord's going to go up to 4 experience. We're going to increase our cooldown to 4 right over here. And then we also get this item. Ends up being Glyph of Bashing. We're going to go ahead and equip this to the legendary deck. Basically, the next lockpick will be free for legendary item. Let's go ahead and put that right there. All right, let's go ahead and see the province effect right here. We're going to increase the dig by 1 like that. On to the rest step. The Imperial is going to get traded a Calcinium Mace right here. We're going to take out the rat skewer bow right over here. And then we are going to choose one of the ways to get samples. We're going to exhume corpses, roll a d6. That's how much light fatigue we get, and a bane. Let's go ahead and roll that. All right, let's see what we get right here. We get 3, which is not too bad. We're going to go put that right there. And then we also have bane. Let's go ahead and acquire our sample. It's going to go right over here. We're at 6 of 16. The dark elf gets the rest next. They're already good on everything, so they're also going to exhume corpses and do the same thing. Ideally, 1 through 3. Let's see what we get. Oh, that's awesome. 2 light fatigue in the bane. Go ahead and place this right over here, like that. Let's go ahead and place our 7th right over here. All right, the high elf first, they're going to use this glyph of poison resist right over here. We're going to enchant the pig. So we'll get to that in a second. Then we're going to be traded this Conjurer's Potion. Lets us get a Daedric Summoning die for one roll, and then we have to drain it afterwards. We don't get it back. That will be nice for later on. Then we're going to go ahead and also exhume corpses. Let's go ahead and roll a d6. Ideally, we get a 1 or a 2 again. 6, it's pretty rough. Right, we have to put all of this light fatigue right over here in our cooldown track. And we're going to go ahead and put the Bane at the end of it, but we do get our sample. We're now on sample 8 of 16. Let's go ahead and enchant the Piggy. This allows them to basically get to remove all their health when they would get KO'd, and then we get to reuse them. That's going to be really good for keeping combat round die under control. All right, the Nord gets to recover a die. We're going to go ahead and do the light fatigue, and then we are also going to exhume corpses. But before we do that, we get traded the Rat Skewer bow for later on. All right, 1 or 2, we really need the slow. 6, that's painful. Let's go ahead and put that right over here. Since we already have Bane, it actually scoots all the way up to the top of the order over here. Let's go ahead and get our 9th plague sample, but remember we get to visit Mournhold, Tormented Spire, and Kragenmoor once per the game. At the end of the day, we also get 1 for going to these places, and I recorded that we went to Mournhold. We then get to increase the day counter to day 6. We're going to go ahead and go to Tormented Spire. It's one of the places where we can get free plague samples. We are going to draw a conflict card. All right, we get Broken Bones right over here. We're going to choose the Endless Skeletons for 1 experience. It's going to be a delve, an uncover one, so we'll get extra experience. We're going to try to get 3 shards and then retreat at the end of the battle. And we have this annoying level 1/5 skeleton that's constantly appearing, and if they're already on the map, another deployed enemy is going to get extra 4 health. Let's go ahead and set that up. All right, we're going to place the Imperial right here, the Nord right here. The next person that gets to go is the High Elf right here, and then the Dark Elf right here. We're going to give the first player marker to the Nord, and we're going to go ahead and start, the Imperial. They do have Bane, so they take a damage at the start of their turn. They also get to recover 3 dice right here, but we still have Bane. All right, since we start on the entrance right here, we're going to do an exploration. Let's go ahead and see what we get right here. We get treasure cache. Let's go ahead and set that up. We're going to place this right over here. We get a level 10 enemy. We happen to draw the skeever right here, the level 5 that got thrown into the bag. So it's going to go right over there. Each unoccupied place gets a cache chip right here. But when we enter here, we have to do a trap or else we're going to lose all of our items as well as these right here. All right, so the first thing is our first movement is 1. We're going to do the Forgotten Tripwire right here. We have 3 attempts to get 3, 4, 5. Let's go ahead. We got 3 and 5 right here. So let's go ahead and put them down there. Second attempt, we're trying to get a 4 right here. We're good. All right, so that's good for the trap right there. We're then going to roll for this item right over here. We have 3 attempts to get 2, 3, and 2. Let's go ahead and see what we get. We have a 3 right there. Let's put that down. All right, we need 2s, so we have 2 more attempts. No luck. This is me rough. All right, last attempt right here. I don't know if this is going to be worth it for all the fatigue. Ooh, so it'd be 2, 3, 4, 5 fatigue, right? Because he has 3. Wait, no, 4, 3, 2. Ooh, 4 fatigue. Oh, that's a lot. Give me a second. Let me think about it. Yep, that's fine. We'll do 4 fatigue. Let's go ahead and 1 there and then 3 down over here. Let's see what we get. If this was worth it. Homespun Jerkin. All right, this is the last 4 light fatigue. We would have to take over fatigue now if we want to use any kind of fatigue. We're going to go ahead and put that right over here. I don't think that was worth it. So this gets discarded right here. And then our second movement, we're going to go ahead and do another lockpick. We have 3 attempts to get 6, 5, and 2. We can't spend any fatigue right here. We got the 5. It's unfortunate that those were close. So we need a 6 and a 2. We're full up on light fatigue, so we would have to take, ooh, that's a 2 right there. We'd have to take over fatigue. Right now we have to get a 6 in the last attempt. Let's hope for the best right here. Nope, we're just going to let that discard. All right, let's go ahead and do that. And then also on this tile, we walked on that spot. We're going to then explore. All right, let's see what we get. We get Deserted Hovel right here. There's also going to be a trap when we walk into it. Let's go ahead and place this right over here. And we have to place a level 5 enemy, but it has to be the Skeleton Mage right over here. So let's go ahead and place that. And then our next thing is going to use our third movement to go right over here. We have to use this trap right here. We have to get 6, 1, 6 in 2 attempts. All right, it's unlikely. Let's see what we get. We got none of that. All right, here we go. It's on camera, 6, 1, 6, last attempt. All right, we only got the one, so we're going to have to do the trap. It says to place the highest, strongest level 1 monster in one of these adjacent spots. They're both level 5, so I guess the trap doesn't do anything. We then use our last 4th movement right here. We're going to engage the skeleton mage right over there. We're going to go ahead and roll 2 shield discipline dice right here. We're also going to grab a heroic slash die right over here, an intimidating presence die right over here. It has divert, so we can't make it lose its last health, but we can remove it, if that makes sense. We're also going to use the calcinium mace. We get for each 2 tenacity, so we have 2. We get to add an enemy combat die right over here. All right, it has 5 health and 1 armor, so we're trying to do at least 5 damage and then use the intimidating presence. So let's see what we got. We have 2, 3, 4 damage. So 3 damage is going to go through, and then we are going to use this intimidating presence die, and we'll see if we have to use the heroic slash. All right, so the 3 damage that goes through, 1, 2, 3 over here, because we did 4, and then we're going to use the intimidating presence because it has 2 or less life. We get to go ahead and remove that right there. All right, so this gets drained. We're going to put these 2 up in our active slots, and then we're going to, I guess this doesn't go in our cooldown, and then heroic slash. We don't need it. It would have done 3 more damage for each of those, but we would have had to exhaust them. So we had the option of 6 more damage. Right, at the beginning of the Nord's turn, they go ahead and take a damage from Bane right over there. We're going to have a cooldown instead of 4, so we go ahead and remove these 4 light fatigue right there. All right, so the strategy here is we're on a timer we need to uncover, which is to get 3 crystal shards. We have none so far, so we have 5 movement. We're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4 right over here, which will then, the movement gives us an explorer. We're gonna go ahead and get this right here, Dusty Corner, which is gonna be a crystal shard. Let's set that up. All right, we're gonna go ahead and place this right over there like that, so then we can explore from that space. This also says when revealed, if no enemy is deployed to this tile, each adventurer gets 2 tenacity. There was no enemy tiles or symbols on this particular tile, so let's go ahead and give everyone their tenacity. Imperial gets 2 tenacity. The Dark Elf gets 2 tenacity. The Nord gets 2 tenacity. And the High Elf gets 2 tenacity right there. I forgot real quick, at the beginning of the round, the class ability allows them to do 2 damage to an enemy within range. The Skeever was within sight and range. 2 damage minus 1 armor, it would have taken 1 damage. But then the Nord has 1 movement left right here, so they're going to move right over here, which gives them the Sky Shard Dusty Corner here, but then we have to deploy a level 5 enemy to any unoccupied hex and then apply a daze status to it. Let's go ahead and do that. All right, we got the Argonian Marauder. Let's put it right over here because we still want to leave that for exploring. We're then going to try to explore more. We're just trying to get 3 sky shards. Let's go ahead and explore that tile right there. Let's see what we get. We end up getting this outpost, but we have no more of this little 3 shape right here. So this actually goes face down as a sky shard. It would have been a good one. We would have gotten to be able to get some items, but let's go ahead and put that there. So now we have 2 of 3. We're then going to take an engage action on this skeever. It's within range and sight. So let's go ahead and get the dice. We're going to grab Vine Dust Training, Volley, Snipe, and then 2 combat dice right over here. All right, so the goal is to deal 4 damage to the Skeever. We also want Volley to go off because then we can do some damage to the Argonian Marauder and we get to explore again. So let's go ahead and see if we get lucky. We have no rerolls. Let's see what we get right here. Ooh, that's pretty rough. So we get to do 2 damage and ignore 1 armor from the Skeever. And then we have the Vine Dust Training, which goes to our active. And then we go ahead and grab 3 tenacity. All right, let's go ahead and do the 2 damage to the Skeever right over here. Got to ignore the armor. So let's go ahead and put the Snipe right here. Vine Dust Training in our active slot. And then we get 3 tenacity, but we are full. We're going to do 2 things. The first thing is Hawkeye. We're going to spend 2 right here. So we get to heal HP equal to the number of enemies within our range. That's going to be 2 health. We only lost 1 damage so far. Let's go ahead and get our last health left. And then we're going to use the lethal arrow on the Skeever right here. So we have to spend 3 tenacity to potentially do some true damage. Let's go ahead and spend the 3 tenacity for that to go down there. And we get to roll 2 enemy combat dice and true damage. We're trying to do 2 damage to take it out. This turn could have been much better, but we're trying to recover it. We really need the Skeever to get knocked out. Let's see if we get the 2 damage. We don't. That's rough. All right, at the beginning of the High Elf's turn, they are going to take a damage from Bane, but then they're going to use their healer class ability to spend a light fatigue to heal themselves up for 1. Let's go ahead and do that. All right, let's go ahead and give them the light fatigue. Then they have a cooldown of 3, so we get to remove that 3 right there. We're then going to move 3 spaces, 1, 2, 3 here. We're going to go ahead and take an engage action. We're going to pick no targets. We're going to grab these. It's going to be Honor the Dead, Purge, Breath of Life right over here, and then Bound Armaments right there. All right, the goal is to do a bunch of healing, then maybe use one of our class abilities to get rid of this Skeever. Let's go ahead and see what we get. This is good, so we're going to go ahead and do these one at a time. Let me go ahead and set that up. All right, so we're going to put the Bound Armaments right here in our active slots. We're going to use that in just a moment. We're going to get 1 Tenacity, but I guess we're already full there. I thought someone could use healing, but I guess not. So the Breath of Life is unfortunately wasted. And then Purge goes into our active slots, but we're going to go ahead and use that on the Dark Elf to get rid of their Bane. Let's go ahead and purge this right here. The High Elf is going to end their turn, but then we're going to use Bound Armaments on the Nord here to go ahead and take a shot at the Skeever. It's going to have 2 health and 1 armor. They get to roll 3 enemy combat dice. We're just trying to take it out. This has been a big pain. All right, come on, 3 damage. It's been really annoying. All right, we got the 3 damage, 2 plus 1. All right, we get to remove this. It does have rot, so the Nord's going to get an over fatigue. Let's go ahead and put that right there. Let's also put the Bound Armaments down right over here. All right, at the beginning of the Dark Elf's turn, they're going to recover up to 3 dice, so the 2 light fatigue. They then can move 3 spaces, 1, 2, 3. We really need to get rid of this Argonian Marauder. Let's go ahead and engage them. All right, all we're going to roll is this Destructive Touch die. This is just going to try to get rid of them directly. I guess we'll also roll this right here, the Fleet Phantom and the Rapid Maneuver for the next round. It might not be useful, but let's go ahead. All right, the Destructive Touch die is the most important. We're trying to get the sides that let us defeat a level 5 enemy. That is actually, I think, not good enough. That lets us defeat a level 1 enemy. 1 second. We're going to spend 2 Tenacity on the Silver Circlet. Let's go ahead and bring that down there. And then we can change a level 1 or 2 skill die to the side of our choice. We are going to change it to this side. Where is it? Right over here. We get to just defeat a level 1 or 5 enemy, but then we have to apply a Bane to someone, so we will apply it to ourselves. So let's go ahead and remove the Argonian Marauder right there. Let's go ahead and give ourselves the Bane right over here. So we could use an Explore action right up over here, but this is the Adventurer's last turn. We're not tight on time right now, so we're just going to go ahead and pass the round. We're going to have to put my actual dice in the cooldown tracks, so the Destructive Touch, then the Bane, then the Rapid Maneuvers, then the Fleet Phantom. We then change the round die to round 2. At the beginning of the round, Bane does 1 true damage right over here. We get the cooldown 3 right over here, the Bane and 2 light fatigue. Right, so we accidentally kind of pinned ourselves in. We were hoping that the value was going to move us last round to go here and have like an exploration that may be connected to here. That was kind of like the dream, but now we're just going to have to move 1 right up here and then use an Explore action right over here, hoping it's the last Sky Shard. All right, no luck. We got this Slag Flow hex or tile right here. Let's go ahead and set that up. I'm going to rewind a little bit because we should not have moved before we did the Explore, because we want to explore and then be able to move. Let's go ahead and do that now. All right, so we get to place this legendary cash chip right over here, and then the High Elf Necromance right over here, and then the recurring Skeleton Mage from this particular encounter is going to go right over here. We're then going to move 3, 1, 2, 3 right here. We're going to engage the High Elf Necromancer. We're also going to use Stagger and Sway. So we use 1 Tenacity to ignore 1 of its defense. We are using Calcinium Mace. So for each 2 Tenacity, I guess we only have 1 now. So I was going to roll 2 originally because I thought I had 4. We get to add 1 enemy combat dice. We're going to roll the Shield Discipline dice right here, Shield Charge, and then Power Bash right over here. All right, it has 6 health and 2 armor, but we're ignoring 1, so we're going to go ahead and have to do this in a specific order. So we got the Shield Discipline dice for 2 damage, plus the 1 more right there. So we're going to go ahead and do the 3, and then we'll come back to those 2. All right, so 3 minus the 1 armor. 2 goes through. Oops, sorry, that's a cash ship right over here. Let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to put this up into our active slots. We're then going to use Shield Charge. We get to do 1 damage to the target that we engage for each one-hand sword and shield die that we have. We have 6 of them, so it's 6 more damage, and that takes out the High Elf Necromancer. All right, let's go ahead and remove that right there. All right, and then the Power Bash right here allows us to grab all of our Shield Discipline dice that would be up here, or our cooldown track. So we have 3 up here. We get to do a free engage. We're going to go ahead and attack the Skeleton Mage. It has 5 health and 1 armor. We're just trying to do as much as possible. I don't think we can take it out. So we go ahead and we have 3 damage right there. We do have our class ability bar to reroll. We just want to do more damage, hopefully get it down to 1. So we're doing 4 damage minus 1. 3 damage goes through. Let's go ahead and do that. So 1, 2, 3 right there. It has 2 health left. I was trying to get it down to 1 because it has divert, so it has to start its turn at 1 or else you can't defeat it by doing damage. Let's Let's go ahead and put these all up in the active slots right over here like that. All right, we're going to take another engage action. So we have to get a light fatigue. We are going to engage the skeleton mage. We are going to use intimidating presence. We're just trying to get the roll of 2. There's 2 sides in that die to get that. Let's go ahead and put that right there. For doing another engage, we'll just go ahead and roll the 3 combat dice just in case we can get some tenacity, or if we don't roll the 2 on this. All right. The ideal is tenacity on the combat dice and then the 2. So we got 1 in intimidating presence, so that's not good enough. But we do 2 damage, so 1 damage goes through. Let's go ahead and do that. Oh, this actually is going to work out. So we do the 1 damage with the combat die right there. And then we get to use intimidating presence. We rolled a 1, so 1 or less health. This gets removed right over here until they respawn for this event. Let's go ahead and put this gets drained up here. Let's go ahead and put these right over here, and then the 1 tenacity to go up to 4. All right, at the beginning of the Nord's turn, they take a true damage from Bane, so put that right over here. We have a cooldown of 4. Let's go ahead and remove these 4 right over there. Also get to exhaust the Vine Dust training to recover up to 2 bow dice or 3 snipe dice. So we're going to go ahead and recover these right over here as well. We then get to move 5. We're going to move 1, 2, 3, stop on this legendary cash chip right here after we're done falling down and lockpick it. We do have the deck with Glyph of Bastion right here, so we just get to, we're going to discard that right here, and then we end up getting Drada's Withering Edge right here. Let's go ahead and put that right over here. We're then going to discard the cash chip right over here, and then we have 2 more movement left, 1 more, and then we stop on that and explore. All right, we end up getting Dungeon Cash right here, which is good because it's our last Sky Shroud and a lot's going to happen. It says when revealed, get 5 tenacity. We're also going to set this up right over here like this, right over there. We then have the common item that goes right over here. We have a level 20 Wood Elf Deadeye. This goes into the farthest spot right here. Then we have the Nord Swords Master right over here, and then the Skeleton Mage right over here. Remember, we still have 1 more movement. Let's go ahead and get the 5 tenacity first. This brings up all the way back to full, which is going to be good. We move right over here. The first thing that happens is we get this Sky Shard, which is our last one. So at the end of this round, we get to book it. But then we have this Slag Flow little downside. When we leave this path, we're going to have to do a lockpick check. And if we are unsuccessful, we're going to get 1 tenacity, 1 over fatigue, and be dealt 1 true damage. All right, let's go ahead and do that real quick. All right, so we have to get 3 attempts at 5, 1, 1. Let's see, our first attempt right here is we got a 6 and a 2. So we could spend 2 fatigue to go ahead and lower some of these. I'm going to spend 1 fatigue to go down to the 1 right now and just do that. Let's go ahead and place that right there. All right, let's go on second attempt right here. We need to get another 5 and another 1. Ooh, that's pretty, it's okay. I was gonna say it's pretty good. It's not pretty. All right, we're gonna go ahead and spend 1 light fatigue to go down to the 1. Let's go ahead and place that right there. All right, last attempt. I'm obviously gonna just roll a 5 right here because I'm good like that. No, that's 2. I do think it's worth spending the 3 light fatigue because if not, we're going to take an over fatigue and then lose the tenacity. It's kind of like plus minus here, so we're going to go ahead and spend the 3. It could go either way, in my opinion. Go ahead and put those all right over here. I just also remembered the dungeon cache right here. When I enter this and got the Sky Shard, I have to make a lockpick check also on top of the regular deck. If unsuccessful, we have to distribute 4 true damage, and then I would have to go all the way back to the entrance. Let's go ahead and do that lockpick. All right, we have 3 attempts to get 1, 3, and 4. We don't have much room to use light fatigue anymore. Let's go ahead and see what we get. We got a 3. We could use 1 more light fatigue on one of those. It's kind of a gamble. I'm going to go ahead and just re-roll these 2. So we need to get a 1 and a 4 on our second attempt. I just kind of want to get them naturally. I got the 1, and at this point, since we're going to complete it, I'm going to spend the light fatigue, just 1 of them, to go ahead and get that to the 4 right here, and then we're successful. Let's go ahead and put that right there. We're then going to do Lethal Arrow here, which costs 3 tenacity, go down to 2 to roll 2 enemy combat dice as true damage. We're going to target the Wood Elf Deadeye right over here and do as much damage as possible. It has a lot of armor, so this is a good target for the true damage. All right, let's see how much damage we can do. We end up doing, that's kind of cocked right there. Let's go ahead and re-roll it. Let's see what we get. We get 1 damage. Let's go ahead and remove the 1 damage right over there. Then going to do an engage on the Wood Elf Deadeye again. Well, I guess it's not another engage. It's our first one because that was a class ability. Bard's going to use Stagger and Sway for 1 tenacity to allow us to ignore 1 armor. We are going to use our Reveler ability to get 3 more additional combat dice right over here, 1+1 for each weapon we have. We're going to use the short bow with this engage because they're within 2 hexes. We get a tenacity to go up to 3 right over here, and then we're going to choose to roll a snipe die. All right, to recap real quick, we're rolling these 4 dice. We get the Wood Elf Deadeye has 4 health left, 3 armor, but we only have to deal with 2 armor because of stagger and sway. So 4 health, 2 armor. Hopefully Snipe gets a pretty good number as well. All right, so then we get to ignore 1 more armor. So we get to do 2, 3, 4, 5 damage. Minus the 1 armor, 4 damage goes through, and it's enough to take out the Wood Elf Deadeye. Got pretty lucky there. Let's go ahead and remove that from the map right there. We did do the second part for Bard Harder right here, which is to an adventurer to defeat a level 20 enemy. Let's go ahead and put that in our last cooldown slot right there. All right, at the beginning of the High Elf turn, they're going to take a true damage from Bane right there, but then they're going to use their healer ability at the beginning of the turn to spend a light fatigue to heal 1 to get it back. We're going to go ahead and put that right there, and then we have a cooldown of 3, so these 3 go away right over here. We're then going to use Sarah Bane's boon right here once per battle to bring the Nord all the way back to the entrance, and they get to heal up for 3. All right, let's bring them all the way right over here. They only need to heal up 1, so let's go ahead and put that right there. We're then going to move 3 spaces. Let's think about this. Let's actually go, 1, 2 spaces right here and take an engage action, targeting no one. We're going to roll the summon die, an expert summoner right over here. Hoping to at least get a summon, doesn't matter which one. Not getting it would be sad. We get the Atronach right here, and then we get to increase its stat by 1. Not the best, but it'll do. Let's go ahead and summon that right over here. All right, so this die gets drained right up over here, and then the expert summoner goes into the active slot. At the beginning of the Dark Elf's turn, they take a damage, true damage for Bane right there. They also have Fleet Phantom, so they get to move up to 5 spaces. We're just going to go right here. The goal is to try to take out both of these. Let's go ahead and do our cooldown real quick. We have a cooldown of 3, so we get to bring this back right over here and this up there, and then the Bane's gone, like that. All right, then we're going to engage the Nord Swordmaster. We're only going to roll the Ancient Knowledge die because it does damage based on the number of available magic die we have, so we just want to roll this one. All right, it's either Tenacity or we get to do 5 damage. Let's go ahead and see what we roll right here. We got it, so we get to do the 5 damage. It has 2 armor, so 3 damage goes through. We're just trying to soften it up right here. We are trying to get rid of both of these. We just don't want them to strike back. We still win our delve right here because we already got the 3 sky shards. We're just trying to prevent as much as we can. I forgot about our necrosis stacks right here, so we would have been able to ignore 1 more armor. Let's go ahead and put this right here and then go ahead and do the 1 more damage. Let's take off that right there, and then we get another necrosis chip right there for our 4th one. We're then going to take a light fatigue to go ahead and take another engage action on the Nord Swordmaster. We're going to do destructive touch die. This is hopefully going to get rid of the skeleton mage, and then we're going to use the pulsar die and then the 2 shock force dice. All right, we get to ignore the 2 armor. There's 2 health left in the Nord Swordmaster, and the skeleton mage, we're just trying to get a good roll for the destructive touch die. So this is going to be, these are going to do 2 damage, but we're going to use this silver circlet right here to go ahead and spend 2 tenacity, go down to 0. We get to change a level 1 or 2 die to this side of our choice. We're going to change this one because this would have us divide 5 damage amongst all of us. We're going to go down over here to this one so that we just have to give 1 person Bane, which is going to be less damage overall. And then the 4 shock dice get rid of the Nord Swordmaster, and then we're not going to use the pulsar die. So let's go ahead and do that. So we have the 4 shock that gets rid of or we have to use 2 of them. Sorry, there's 4 life left to get rid of that. And then the skeleton mage, the destructive touch die gets rid of. So we're going to go ahead and put these right over here. And then afterwards, we're going to have the destructive touch die right over there. And then we're going to give the Imperial the Bane status, and Pulsar is going to go right over here. Go ahead and give the Bane die right over here like that. This should be manageable. The Imperial has a lot of health and a lot of abilities like the Imperial Metal to prevent damage. All right, there's nothing else the Dark Elf wants to do. So we're going to end the round right there. We do get the experience for this particular conflict event. And then because it was an uncovered delve, we're going to get 3 more additional experience for the sky shards we got. So 4 experience. So let's go ahead and do all the rewards. And then we're going to try to grab some plague samples. All right, so we're going to get 4 experience to go all the way up to 27. Huge jump right there. We're going to go up with Imperial all the way up to 5 experience. We're then going to spend 4 on a cooldown to go all the way back to 1. We're kind of good on dice so far. And then we're actually just going to go ahead and spend this last one to go ahead and get another health. Let's go ahead and put that right over here, and then they get the health right away. All right, next up is the Nord. They're going to get 4 experience to go up to 4. We could get some more combat dice, but because we're going to be rolling light fatigue for plague samples, I feel like it's going to get really bogged down here. So we have all 6 of our bow and arrow dice, so we're good there. We're kind of good there. We do want to get more cooldown, but we'll need 5, and then you're not allowed to actually save more than 3. You have to purchase tenacity at that point. So we're going to go ahead and spend 1 right here. This is like my strategy to get 1 more health, might as well. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and put that right there. We also get the health right away, but now we have 3 saved up towards if our next rewards is 2 experience, we can go up to 5 and then get a more cooldown because we really need that. And then for the high elf, we have a couple options. We get 4 experience, so we go all the way up to 6. So I'm just going to remove that right there. We could get our last master ritualist die, which helps us flip over to the master class of the healer, but we would have to have someone dying. We've been rolling pretty good, and our strategy's been good where I feel like that might not even be necessary. And our cooldown's pretty low here. So I think I'm going to hold off on the master ritualist die. I'm going to go ahead and spend 4. So go from 6 down to 2 to go ahead and increase our cooldown to 4 right there and save the 2 experience, and we can see if we want to get something later on. All right, and last up is the Dark Elf, goes all the way up to 6. We're going to go ahead and spend 4 to go down to 2 to get another cooldown. This is going to be pretty good. Now we have more options. We can get more health. We can get another acrobatics die. I do want more magicka right here, but we're going to have 3 experience. We have 2 right now, so I think since we've been doing good, we're just going to keep that as is. Before we go on to the province effect, we're going to use the Dark Elf's Tranquility Pale Ale right here. So we get to have the adventurers remove a collective total of up to 10 fatigue. This is going to let us roll for some plague samples in a moment. We're also going to quickly put Mymene Poison right over here. We're going to remove 7 from the Nord. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have 3 more left. 2 from the High Elf. So 1, 2 like that. And the last from 1 from the Imperial right there. We then have to activate the province effect. We have no symbol right here, so we're good. For the rest stop, the Imperial is going to get 1 health, and then let's remove the Bane like that. Nord's good in health, but they're going to remove this light fatigue. And the High Elf's going to remove the Bane right there. And the Dark Elf gets to heal up 1 right over here, and then they get to remove this light fatigue. We did end our day in the Tormented Spire right here. Remember, for the Mournhold Tormented Spire and Kraganmore, we get 1 free plague sample for that. So this is what, number 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 of 16 right there. And we're going to go ahead and try to roll for some more plague samples. All right, first up is going to be the Dark Elf. This is how much light fatigue they get. They also get a Bane and a plague sample. So 3 is not too bad. All right, let's go ahead and get the 3 light fatigue right here, and then the Bane. Okay, that's going to be our 12th plague sample. We're now going to have the Nord roll for a plague sample. Lower the better. 2's really good. Let's go ahead and put the 2 light fatigue right over here, and then the Bane like that. All right, this is plague sample 13 of 16. We're going to have the Imperial skip looking for exhuming corpses for the plague samples. We're going to end up on the High Elf right here. Lower the better. Let's see what we get. We end up getting 1, which is the best. All right, so we put the light fatigue right over here, and then the Bane like that. We then change the day to day 7. We're going to move our party marker to Kraganmore right over here and do a town event. This is also going to help us get a free plague sample at the end of it. Let's go ahead and set that up. All right, let's set it up real quick. 5 common items: Glyph of Foulness, Eben Sword, Sijik, Order, Pigs in a Blanket, Roast Pig, Crispy Cheddar Chicken, and a legendary item, Try Restoration Potion. We have 3 trainers. We have the 2 shadow skill lines and then acrobatics right there. Unfortunately, like, my strategy for this is we definitely want to take some inactions to get back all the Banes and all of our dice back. There's gonna be a lot of good items we can probably grab here. There's this special town square action where you can liberate Kraganmore right here. You won't be able to go back to it in the rest of the campaign, but we'll get an extra experience. And then Khajiits and Argonians would get extra bonus tenacity. We don't have any of those races in our party right now. I'm really sad that the quest board is closed because we wanted to advance the Bard class to the Master one, and we have to do another side quest. That's unfortunate, but we're also going to be able to get a plague sample at the end of all this, so let me go ahead and think about it. All right, we're going to have the Imperial go first. They're going to get the Eben sword right over here. Let's go ahead and put the Iron Great Sword in our pack right here. We can have up to 8, so we now have 7 items. We're going to go ahead and take an inaction with our second action. Let's go ahead and put all these back. It feels really good to get all of this back right here. The cooldown track was almost full. Next up, the Dark Elf is going to grab the Glyph of Foulness. You get to enchant a bag, and then enemies for an encounter are going to spawn with 1 less health, which is pretty decent. We're just going to go ahead and put this in the bag just so I don't forget, because I probably will if I don't put it in there. We're then going to take an inaction to get all of this also back right over here, like this. I forgot to heal up the Imperial. I'll do that in a moment. So yeah, we're good like that. Go ahead and give them their 7th health right there. The Nord's actually going to grab the Acrobatic skill line. Let's go ahead and put that right here. And then our second action is to take an inaction to get all of this back. I think they're good in health. Yeah, they're good in health right there. Let's go ahead and plop those in right there. Last up, the High Elf is going to grab the Crispy Cheddar Chicken. This helps us get back drain dice, such as like the Intimidating Presence dice or Summon back again. We're going to go ahead and put that right there. And our second action is to take an inaction to get all this stuff back, which feels pretty good. I was getting bogged down for a bit now, like that, and then get rid of the light fatigue and the bane. All right, that's the end of the town event. So we're going to go ahead and go to activate province effect. This allows us, we have to increase the dig track by 1. So it goes to 3 right there. Delandra has 1 thing excavated so far. Because we ended our turn in Kraganmore right here, so we have all 3 of these places where we get an extra plague sample. I think this is number 13 right there, and we're going to go ahead and exhume corpses and try to get some more. Sorry, that's 14 right there. The Dark Elf is going to go first. The lower the number, the better. We got 2, which is super good. Let's go ahead and put the 2 light fatigue, and then you always get a bane for that. We're going to go ahead and put plague sample number 15 right here. We want to get 16 for the quest. Any extras will be tinctures we can use later on in the campaign, so we don't just want to get 16. All right, the Imperial is going to go. Let's go ahead. We got a 5, which is really bad. Let's go and put these right over here. 5, and then also bane, unfortunately, at the end of it. Let's get our plague sample. That is plague sample 16. I have to go ahead and make some more space. It's getting out of control. Right over here, we're still going to roll for some more for the extra tinctures. All right, next up is the Nord. We really want low this time. 5, also awful. Let's go ahead and put the 5 light fatigue right over here, and then the bane like that. Let's go ahead and put that right there. All right, and then let's exhume corpses for the High Elf, 3 or less, I'm hoping. Got 3. Okay, that's the best I could have gotten. Oh, not best, I guess 1. Let's go ahead and place these right over here. And then the bane goes like that. We're going to go ahead and place our extra tincture right over here. Increase the day marker to day 8. All right, next up, we are going to try to think about stalling for a little bit. We do want to go to Narcissus by day 10. It's day 8 right now. Ebenheart is a really cool town to go to for day 9 because then we can get some bonus experience. So I kind of have 1 turn to kind of just mess around. I could either do a peaceful event. I don't really want to do another battle right now, a conflict. I mean, it would be fine, but I think I'm going to do unstable spot right here. So we're going to actually move right over here next to Ebenheart. Then we have to roll a die. And then afterwards, everyone's going to get a 2 tenacity. So like a little bonus because I don't even care what I do right now. My goal is I do want to get another side quest from Ebenheart, and I want to get the day 9 bonus from Ebenheart. And then by day 10, I want to go to Narcissus and then actually progress the second part of our Mage's Guild quest. So let's go ahead and roll the die and see what we get. All right, like I said, it doesn't really matter what we get right here, or at least for me. I have like no real, has to go into the dice tray. Let's go ahead and do that. We have a conflict event, so let's go ahead and draw that card. All right, we end up drawing this generic card called Forever Mine right here. We're going into a mining operation. We would normally have choices. We are doing unstable, so we have to excavate some rusty old scraps outside. Everyone's going to get an experience, and then everyone's going to have to roll a d6, 1 through 4. We have to discard an item, which is rough. 5 through 6 is that person will get an extra bonus experience, which is great because it doesn't increase the EP and the total party's experience. Let's go ahead and start rolling. All right, the Imperial is going to be first. We want to get a 5 or 6. Let's see what we get. We got a 4, so we have to discard an item. We're going to discard Homespun Jerkin right here. All right, we're going to roll for the Nord next. Let's hope that they get a bonus experience. They do, so let's go ahead and add that right now before we forget. All right, so we go from 3 all the way up to 4. That will be super useful later on. All right, let's roll for the High Elf. We don't really want to discard an item. We got a 1. We unfortunately have to. We are going to get rid of the Crispy Cheddar Chicken right here. And then last up is the Dark Elf, hoping at least another 5 or 6. Nope. We're going to get rid of these Golden Gauntlets. They're not too helpful right now, so they're gone. All right, so we move the experience up by 1 for that event, but also remember it was an unstable event, so they get 2 extra tenacity in addition to the experience. The Imperial gets 1 experience, but there's nothing too useful to spend it on. The Nord gets 1 more experience. We were at 4, we're now at 5, which was perfect, which is what we wanted. We get to go up to 5 cooldown, which is super good. It's kind of hard to get 6 cooldown because you have to get up to 3 and then have like 3 experience earned because you're not allowed to save more than 3. That's the only way to get up to 6. But yeah, that's pretty good for the Nord there. And then the High Elf's going to get 1 experience. We were saving for the cooldown, but we're going to get the Master Ritualist Healer die right there. That's going to cost 3 and bring us down to 0. Might as well give it a try. I don't think we're going to have to use this, and I don't think we'll be able to flip over our thing, but you never know. Last up is the Dark Elf. We go up to 3 right here, but we want to save this kind of like the Nord later on. We want to hope to get 2 experience at some point to get up to 5 to get more cooldown. So we'll just keep it as is. Everything else is pretty decent so far. I almost forgot the Unstable Tenacity. We get 2 on the Imperial. We get 2 on the Nord right over here. The High Elf is already full right there. The Dark Elf goes up to 2 right there. All right, now we're going to work on the province effect for the day. This symbol right here gives us an option. We can increase the dig track by 4, so Day Launcher would get another excavation, or we can reduce our party's movement by 3, which is our movement for the next day. We're going to go ahead and choose that option to make it not move up. For the rest step, we'll get rid of a light fatigue right here from the Imperial, a light fatigue from the Nord, a light fatigue from the High Elf, and a light fatigue from the Dark Elf. After the Venture's Rest step, we're going to try to find some more plague samples. First off is the Dark Elf. We're going to exhume corpses. We're going to roll a d6, so we get 4 light fatigue, and then we get to refresh our Bane. Let's go ahead and do that. All right, so we get the 4 right over here, and then we get another Bane, but you can't get more than 1, so it just slides up over there. We add our Plague sample right over here. We're going to do the High Elf next. We don't want to get a 6 because we only have 5 light fatigue left. If we actually roll 6, the 6th one has to be an over fatigue. We got a 2, really good scenario. So let's go ahead and put that right over here. And like I said, we refresh the Bane to go higher up on the cooldown track like that. We then grab our sample that we earned. We then change the day counter to day 9. We then move the party marker to Ebenhar right here. We're going to go ahead and set that up. All right, we have to set up the items: Glit Stargazer Sigil, Glyph of Transmutation, Leowin's Gambeson Quilt right there, Camlorn Pork Sausage, Paragon Chicken, and Orcish No Rhubarb Salad. And then we have the 5 trainers, Restoring Lights, 2 heavy armors, Shadows, and Speech right over here. But the reason why we came here is the town square right here. So New Life Festival, which is a group action. If it's day 9 or later, which is why we stalled till day 9, we get the following persistent effect. The next time experience is gained, each adventure gets a bonus experience, which is also good. The bonus means that we don't have to get a higher EP to fight harder monsters. So we're going to go ahead and mark that down right now. All right, so we've been marking down all of our notes for our campaign right over here, like that. And then the other thing about this particular town is there's certain things races can't do. We don't have Argonians. Dark Elves cannot take a trainer town action, which is no big deal. Our Dark Elf doesn't need that. And the Nord cannot take a shop action, which is unfortunate because there's always good items. All right, let's go ahead and do the next town action. Since the Nord can't shop, they're going to go ahead and take a quest. We're trying to finish the Bard Harder quest, and we need to complete another side quest. So we have the Power of Teamwork and Jack of All Blades. This one looks kind of hard to do. I don't like how we basically have to get 3 weapons, and one person's going to have to keep defeating enemies while they overtax the weapon. But I don't like how everyone's going to have to discard 4 items each. I like all my items, so that one is doable, but I don't like discarding all the stuff I've accumulated. And the Power of Teamwork is going to be annoying because each party member can only defeat 1 enemy per turn, and anyone else that you try to defeat that turn will remain at 1 health point. But I think we can do this one, but it's going to be slightly annoying because I like to go in there and defeat everyone all at once. So we're going to go ahead and grab this so we can finish Bard Harder. We're also going to get some tenacity, but that's not the big deal. The High Elf is going to grab the Glyph of Transmutation. It allows us to discard a legendary item to look at 5 and grab a good one. All right, we're full up on space, so we're going to have to put it in our pack right here. We could enchant something later on, but then we'll lose it at the end of this session, so we might save it for session 3. The Dark Elf is going to grab the Orcish No Rhubarb Salad right here. It just helps them get more movement and more Magicka stat to roll more dice. They are full on space, so they're going to put it in their pack right there. Last up is the Imperial. They're going to grab another side quest because I just realized our next clash actually won't happen, and I'll get to that when we run into it. So we're trying to see if there's something we can complete. We have Seize Them, which is going to be apprehending humanoid enemies at 1 health. As long as we get 1, drop it off at a town, we will be good. Blood Crabs, we get a Mud Crab, but they have to defeat a bunch of enemies for us to defeat this quest. They also have a blind eye, so it's going to be really hard to take out a bunch of enemies at this point in the session. So I'm going to grab Seize Them, but it's looking grim that we're going to finish Bard harder. All right, we're on to the Province effect right here. This symbol means that we move it up by 1. So unfortunately, Delandra gets to excavate another artifact, so the dig goes back down to 0, and that goes to 2. The Dark Elf heals Bane from the rest up. Same for the Imperial right there. Same thing for the High Elf, as well as the Nord right there. The day counter turns to day 10. So by day 10, we need to get to Narcissus. It's 4 spaces away and we have 3 movement, so everyone has to get a light fatigue for us to get all the way over there. So we're going to go there and give everyone their light fatigue. The Imperial gets a light fatigue. The Dark Elf gets a light fatigue. The Nord gets a light fatigue. The High Elf would get a light fatigue, but we're out, so we have to distribute over fatigue, so they get an over fatigue. Let's go ahead and set up the Narcissus Town event and then also use a group town action to turn in all of our plague samples. Okay, let's go ahead and place the items. Chicken and Biscuits, Nordmead, Glyph of Absorbing, Pebble Pal, Crawdad Quiche, Berserker's Medallion, and Dark Seducer Curious. And then for these skills, we have Speech, Shadow, Destruction Staff, Heavy Armor, and Heavy Armor right there. And then each time someone takes an action in this town, they can potentially be plague ridden. So they'll have to roll a d6 on a 1 through 3, either get 2 light fatigue or are dealt 1 true damage. All right, the first action we're going to take is going to be our quest action. It's actually in this book, so I can't show you right now. We're going to turn in 16 plague samples because we have 4 players. We then get to distribute these Lotus tinctures that we get to use in the last battle. And then in addition, everyone's going to have to roll the d6. So let's do all of that right now. All right, the Dark Elf gets their tincture, and now for the d6. They're trying to get 4, 5, or 6. Let's see what they get. They're good. The Imperial gets their tincture right here. Let's see what they get for the d6. So they get 6, so they're also good. The High Elf gets their tincture. All right, let's see if they also get 4, 5, or 6. They're good. Super lucky. Last up is the Nord and their tincture. All right, let's see what they get right here. All right, they get a 3. We're going to go ahead and give them 1 true damage instead of the light fatigue. The monkey over here is going to take the damage. They have 2 health left. The Nord's going to take a shop action and grab the Berserker's Medallion, but they also have to roll for a plague again. They have to put that in their pack right there. All right, they're trying to get 4 through 6 not to get plagued. They're good. The High Elf is going to grab the Pebble Pal and then also has to roll for the plague. We're going to put it in the High Elf's pack right there. All right, hoping for 4 through 6. Take a true damage. Go ahead and remove the damage right over here. The Dark Elf is going to grab the Glyph of Absorbing and use it, but let's roll for the plague. All right, hoping for 4 through 6. We're good. We are then going to use the Glyph of Absorbing to then go ahead and enchant this one right here, the Glyph of Foulness, so that after our next battle, when these enemies come out with 1 less health, this gets to go back into someone's pack for session 3. So let's go ahead and put that right there. And last up, the Imperial is going to grab, it's actually a hard choice. These are all kind of just okay. We're going to grab this one so people can then heal up later on potentially. This goes into the pack right there. All right, let's see if they get a 4, 5, or 6. They're good. All right, now on to the rewards for the quest right here after the town action. So we get 1 experience, and then also don't forget we had this New Life Festival to get another bonus experience. So we're going to go ahead and do the 2 experience for everyone, and then we get to go to the last part of our Mages Guild quest. All right, so even though we get 2 experience, this only goes up by 1, so it goes to 29, because the other one was bonus. The Imperial goes all the way up to 3 right here, but then we're going to spend 2 for another combat die, so let's go back down to 1. Go ahead and put that right over there. The Dark Elf goes all the way up to 5, but we're going to spend all 5 of it to go ahead and get another cooldown from 4 dice to 5, which is really good. The High Elf is going to get 2 experience. We could get 2 more health right now, but we can also save for like another summoner die when we unlearn that later on, or another restoring light die, or even more stamina for movement. But I think we're good right there. All right, the Nord gets 2 experience up over here. We're going to get some acrobatics dice. So we could save up for more combat dice or even 2-handed sword, but the acrobatics is going to be really good. Fleet Phantom for more movement, and then Wind Walker right here to reduce all of our abilities, which we use often. All right, the last part of the Mages Guild quest here is to eliminate all of these vats over here. So we're gonna have to go to a conflict landmark, do a clash, and then kind of take out everything, including the vats. And then we also have to conquer because we're playing 3 or more players. All right, now we have to do our province effect right here. No symbol, so the dig track does not get increased, which is good. Now for the rest step, the Imperial gets to remove a light fatigue. The Dark Elf gets to remove a light fatigue. The High Elf's going to remove an over fatigue. They also get to heal up 1 right over here. And the Nord gets to remove the light fatigue. We move the day tracker to day 11 right there. All right, we have 2 days left. I think for the 12th day, we're going to go to Tormented Spire, but that we're not in the 12th day right now. We are also going to try to trigger another Clash event, but there is no more other than this one. I think you could stay in the same space and then re-trigger it twice in a row. I was just checking the rules. I'm not 100% sure if you have to actually choose a new place, but I'm not going to be cheeky. I'm going to go ahead and go on an unstable event. You'll see why I'm doing this in a moment. So let's go ahead and roll the die to see what we get. All right, almost anything's good. I think there's more conflicts on this unstable die. We also get extra tenacity afterwards. Cool, we got a conflict. So we're going to draw the card real quick. All right, so we end up getting this keep away encounter. There's going to be a bunch of bandits trying to get items, and we're also trying to get them. But because this is a clash, we got this a long time ago on like one of the first few days we did this. We got seek peace and forgiveness with your fellow people. We had this persistent effect where the next time we draw an overland encounter with the clash option, this is the first time we actually skip that. We go to the reward phase. Each adventure is going to get a bonus experience, so it doesn't hurt our EP, and then we discard this. So let's go ahead and give everyone the bonus experience. Right, the Imperial goes up to 2 experience here. We have a couple options. We could save up for cooldown. I don't think we need it too much because we have some of these dice that actually get back our dice. They recover them from the one-hand sword and shield. We could save up for a combat die, but I think like we're going to be full up mostly down here anyways. I know I just kind of talked about how we're good down here, but I think we're going to grab a speech die. We're going to get this authority. This helps us. That's 2 experience. Let's go ahead and go down there. This helps us get more tenacity for ourselves or people that are closer to us, the more that they actually get. The Dark Elf gets 1 experience right over here. We could get another health. I think they've been staying in the background. They've been good. So we're just going to save up for maybe another acrobatics later on, or like the dream would be 6 cooldown. All right, the High Elf gets 1 bonus experience here. We have 3, so like I said, we can get more stamina health. I don't think we really need it. We could get another healing die right here, but we have so much healing stuff here, we're good. We could unlearn the combat die to get another summoner die, but we have this Hickory Ice Staff where we have to drain a combat skill die to be able to give statuses to enemies, and I want to keep this option open. So I think overall I'm actually going to be saving up for more cooldown. And then for the Nord right here, they get 1 experience. We only have like 2-handed option here, or later on we can get a new trainer skill line or save up for cooldown, but like 5's pretty good. I think we're going to just grab, we'll just hope we could grab this Wrecking Blow to be able to go into combat, and we can still use like these dice right here, but we're kind of like full up down there, so I'm just going to actually save up for the cooldown. It's unlikely it's going to happen, but that's my plan. Almost forgot to do it because we did an unstable die effect. Everyone gets 2 tenacity. Everyone is full in tenacity but the Dark Elf, so they go from 2 to 4 right there. All right, now we did the province effect before the Venture's Rest step. This symbol right here, we increased the dig tracker by 1. That's lucky. I was hoping to not get the one where we had to like forego some movement. It would have been annoying because we don't want Delandra to get more artifacts excavated. Imperial removes a light fatigue for the rest step. The Dark Elf removes a light fatigue. The High Elf removes a light fatigue right there. And last up, the Nord removes a light fatigue. The day tracker turns to day 12 right there. All right, everyone, this is the conclusion to the Mages Guild quest for session 2. There's a lot going on with this, so I'm going to try to piece it out real quick. So I already have all the enemies here. I'm going to go ahead and lay them out and give you the strategy, but the goal is to eliminate these vats right over here. These end up having 6 health. It's 4 plus the number of excavations that happened. There was 2 excavations. So the goal is to defeat these. When they get defeated, we get light fatigue, and then we also get Bane dice, but we also have some tinctures to counteract some of that. We also have the cash chips right over here. That's not the main thing. We also have a bunch of enemies, but we are going to try to complete the power of teamwork so we can then complete Bard harder, so then the Bard can get over to their masterclass, which means we can only defeat 1 enemy per turn. So this is going to be really interesting battle. Any additional enemies that a party member would defeat get stuck at 1 health until someone else defeats an enemy. So it's 1 party member can defeat 1 enemy, and then the rest they can bring down to 1 health. Also, in addition, some of these enemies have Siphon right here. during the first session, we got I think we did a town action where everyone gets to ignore Siphon. All the party members, or not all the party members, all the Venturers get to actually ignore Siphon effect. Also, I have a really cool strategy with my Nord, so we're about to have a lot of fun because I saved a lot of items for this. This is 128 points. Let's go ahead and set them up real quick. All right, so the Nord Pyromancer goes right over here. We then have a Lich that goes right over here. We then have Haj Mota, which goes, where's that one? Oh, I actually put that in the wrong spot. Right over here. Then we have a Dark Elf Pillager that goes up over there. We have a Breton Archmage right over here. Nyx Hound Pack goes right over there. Dark Elf Marauder goes right over here. Orc Bandit goes, I lost track, right over here. I guess there's no more slots for these, so I'm gonna have to double check to see if I place these or not. All right, we actually don't place these because we only had 8 numbered spots to place these. So these go back into the bag. The other thing that I already did during setup was we had this bag enchanted to have each enemy come out from this bag with 1 less health. So I already did that. This would get discarded, but because we have Glyph of Absorbing, I believe we get to add this to someone's adventure pack. So let's discard this and then re-get this back for session 3. We'll just give it to the Dark Elf right over here. Also, before we start, we're going to use 1 Tenacity for Red Mountain Drinking Song right over here to go down to 4. So 2 enemies are going to take 1 true damage. We're going to remove 1 from the Nyx Hound pack right over here, and then 1 from the Haj Mota right over there, like that. And then we have to set up our adventurers. The Nord's going to go right over here. They're going to get the first player marker. Normally I have the Imperial do it. The High Elf is going to go right over here. We're going to have the Imperial go right over here. And then we're going to have the Dark Elf go right over here. And then we're going to talk about the strategy real quick before I go into actually playing it and see how it plays out. So I'm only allowed to defeat 1 enemy per turn. So I'm going to do a couple of interesting things. The Nord has an item that I'm going to be able to attack everyone. This is going to be a crazy attack, really crazy. I'm only going to defeat 1 person. I'm going to try to get the Nyx Hound pack just because there's 6 spaces away to flip over into my master class. Then another interesting thing is because we have the persistent ability to ignore Siphon, I'm going to try to leave everyone at 1 health, and we're probably going to have the Nord Pyromancer siphon up all the health and knock out all of the other enemies, which will be super useful. It will have a lot of health then, and then we don't have to worry about defeating 1 enemy ourselves per turn, and then we're just going to gang up on the Nord Pyromancer, but this all depends on what rolls and how everything plays out. But that's my general strategy right there, is to take out this one, hit everyone with the Nord, and then clean up with everyone else, and then also at the end get rid of the Nord Pyromancer. Let's go ahead and see how it plays out. All right, at the beginning of the Nord's turn, they have an Archer class action, do 2 damage to someone within range 5. So we're going to go ahead and hit the Orc Bandit right here just for 1 damage because it has 1 armor. This is just to whittle them down and might as well use it. We then get to recover up to 5 dice right there. We're then going to use accuracy right here for 1 tenacity to go down on 4, so we get to increase our range from 5 to 6. We're then going to engage the Nyx Hound pack over here, who's 6 spaces away, but we are going to overtax our Maple Bow right over here, so we get the count the number of hexes away we are from the target, which is 6, and we get to add that many enemy combat dice. So we're going to overtax that. We are going to be also discarding Signet of the Worm, so we get to discard this before rolling dice to then damage all targets disengage within range. So that's going to be everyone on the map. So this is super useful, and because we're overtaxing, we don't have to worry about one of the enemies having shatter. So we're also going to use our Reveler ability right here to now add 1 enemy combat die, plus 1 more for the short bow we have. So we get to roll 8 enemy combat dice. We are short on the enemy combat dice, so I'm just rolling 2 basic ones. We don't get tenacity for that. Then we're going to roll 1, 2, 3 snipe dice to do a bunch of damage. We're just trying to basically bring everyone down to 1 health. Vine Dusk training right here for next round, and then the Wind Walker right here to help us out. Let's go ahead and get that ready. All right, the goal with all these dice is to do 7 damage. It's going to be really good. Let's go ahead and see what happens right over here. It's going to be a lot to add up. So we have 1, 2, we get to ignore 2 armor. The ignoring armor is only on the first person. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we're dealing 9 damage. So that's going to get rid of the Nyx Hound pack. And then we get 2 tenacity. And then we also get to add that to our cooldown. So let's go ahead and do all of that. All right, that's enough to take out the Nyx Hound pack right over here. But then we have to deal 9 damage to everyone else. They also have armor. The vat goes down to 1 health. This vat, all the vats go down to 1 health right over here. It's also one of the goals. They had 6. The Necromancer has 2 health. It's only allowed to go, sorry, it has 2 armor and 5 health left. So it's only allowed to go down to 1 health. Because of the power of teamwork, I can't actually, it would have finished it off. Dark Elf Pillager has the 5 health and 2 shield left. Also goes down because remember, we're doing 9. That goes down to 1. Lich, same thing. It takes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then it has 2 armor. So that also goes down to 1. We have the Pyromancer. This one has 2 armor. So it's taking 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But it stays at 1. The Orc Bandit goes down. Not enough of all of that, down to 1. Yeah, this was a crazy turn. This one has Shatter. Hold on. This one has Shatter, so this one has 3 defense though, but I already overtaxed the item, so I don't have to worry about the Shatter part. This one goes down to 1. So yeah, it took 3, 4, 5 right there. 1 health left. This Dark Elf Marauder also goes down to 1 right over there. That was a crazy first turn. All right, let's do a couple things. These go down into cooldown track. The 2 snipe, the combat die, 2 tenacity. We only have 1 left open, so we go up to 5. We put the Windwalker right over here, and then because we defeated an enemy that was at least 6 hexes away, we do get to finally the master side right over there. We get a couple of abilities, 4 of them upgraded, so that's gonna be great. Finally, we got that done. We're then gonna move 5 spaces just to get out of everyone's way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and lockpick that common item right over there. All right, we have 3 attempts to get a 2, 6, and 4. We finally got some open item slots, so it's good. We have a 2. We could use, we'll use a life fatigue to change the 3 to a 4 right over there. Let's go ahead and put that right in the cooldown track. All right, we have 2 more attempts to try to get a 6 right over here. So let's see the first attempt. We got a 3. I don't want to waste the life fatigue yet. So here's our last attempt, trying to get a 6. I don't want to spend 5 life fatigue, so this just gets discarded. All right, let's go ahead and remove that cash chip from the map like that. Next up is the High Elf. It gets to move up to 3 spaces. We're going to go 1, 2, 3 right over there. Real quick, we are supposed to remove the 4 cooldown, so the 3 life fatigue. We are then going to do an engage action and choose no targets. We are going to roll Daedric Curse, our summon die right here, the bound armaments, and then we're also going to do the Master Ritualist die. We're then going to use our Conjurer's Potion right here to expend it to then get a Daedric die. Let's go ahead and get the Power Stone right here. All right, the goal is to get a summon because that's a different party member to be able to take out a different enemy, even with the Power of Teamwork quest right here. This is super bad, but we do get bound armaments, and then we do get to do some true damage, and then we get a bunch of tenacity. Let's go ahead and do all of that. All right, with the Daedric Curse, we get to do 2 true damage to an adjacent unit. Let's do the Hajj Moda right there, so we don't have to worry about chatter. All right, so we get to put that right down over there. We get 3 tenacity, but one of these dice we have to put back the Power Stone. I guess we're full in tenacity, so that dice is just gone. And then the bound armaments go up here. It's unfortunate we didn't get a summon to take out another enemy. We're then going to use Hope Infusion to spend 3 tenacity, go down to 2 to give ourselves 3 bonus health. Let's go ahead and put that right over there. We're then going to end our turn and use the bound armaments right here to have the Nord attack with 3 enemy combat dice. We're going to attack the Breton Archmage over here, but it has 2 armor, so we're going to use the Bard's ability, the Stagger and Sway, for 1 tenacity to ignore 1 of its armor. All right, it has 1 health and 1 armor now. Let's see if we can do 2 damage. We got 2, 3, 4, so it knocks it out. Let's go ahead and remove it from the map there. At the beginning of the Dark Elf's turn, we have a cooldown of 5, so we remove these 4. We're then going to move 3 spaces, 1, 2, 3 right here. We're going to engage the Lich right here. We're going to roll 2 4-shock dice right here. We're also going to roll this Elemental Drain die, and then we're also going to roll the Phantom Fleet and then Rapid Maneuvers. We also have 4 Necrosis chips right here, so we get to ignore 2 armor. All right, we're just trying to do 1 damage. Let's go ahead and see what we get. So we did get the damage. This is going to be 2 damage. These, unfortunately, are tenacity. And this one we'll have to think about if we care about it. We're going to ignore this because it's going to do 4 damage, but then we would have to deal one of our adventurers 1 true damage, and we only needed the 2 more. So let's go ahead and remove them from the map. All right, that takes out the Lich. It does have Rot, so we get an Over Fatigue. So we put the 4-shock right there, the Over Fatigue. This one we're just going to kind of put there and not use it. We then get 2 tenacity right over here. We only need 1 more tenacity to go up to 5. And then the Phantom Fleet right over here. And then we do get another Necrosis stack for doing an extra damage. It's unfortunate that we couldn't summon some Blast Bones because then we could have taken out 3 more things. So it's just super unfortunate. We are going to spend 2 tenacity though to give ourselves some bone armor. So 2 of these chips go onto that as bonus health. Last up is Imperial, but they get the cooldown of 4 right there. All right, Imperial is going to move 4 spaces, 1, 2, 3 right here, or 3 spaces. We're going to engage the Dark Elf Marauder right here. We're going to roll 2 Shield Discipline dice and 2 Intimidating Presence dice. We're also going to use Stagger and Sway. So it uses 1 Tenacity to ignore the 1 armor. All right, this could be really good. We also have a reroll with our class ability. So we get to do 1 damage, so it's going to take out the Dark Elf Marauder, and then we have these 2 Intimidating Presence die, which we're going to use, and then we'll also get a Tenacity. All right, so the Shield Discipline die gets rid of the Dark Elf Marauder right there. I'm going to do a slight rewind in a second. I didn't realize that you have to add up all the Intimidating Presence dice, so I'm going to go ahead and use one of the dice, so anything with 2 or less health gets removed. It's not considered defeated, so we can get past the power of teamwork, so we're going to get rid of the VAT. Go ahead and put the Shield Discipline in our active slot. This one gets drained. This one we wouldn't have rolled if we would have read our sheet first. This gives us a Tenacity. Let's go up to 3. Then going to take a Light Fatigue to take another engage action. Should just target no one and to roll this. Right? We're just trying to get a 1. We're good. We get to remove this VAT from the map. And then this die also gets drained. All right, first up for the enemies is the Nord Pyromancer. It does have native and siphon. The native for Morrowind is to add a daze effect. It has a range of 3, and then it can target infinite number of people. So it's going to target everyone with 2 combat dice. Let's go ahead and do that. All right, let's try to get no numbers if possible. We end up getting a 2 and a 1. We're going to use the Bard's reroll ability. They're within range 2 to make them reroll the 2. To go all the way down over here, it's a 1, so 2 damage goes through to everyone. The Imperial gets to block 1 of it right over here, but they also still get daze like that. Not daze, I got that wrong. It's going to be blind. Go ahead and remove the 1 health right over there. The Dark Elf takes 2 damage from their over health right there, and then they're going to get the blind like that. The High Elf takes 2 damage from their over HP, then place the blind right over here. I do have this Silver Dawn Jack, so I get to prevent 1 damage, so we're going to go ahead and give them 1 more. And last up, the Nord would take 2 damage, but unfortunately our monkey pet's going to go away, but I think we would have had to have discarded this at the end of the session anyways, so they take the last bit of hits, and then we get the blind right over here. All right, and then at the end of the Nord Pyromancer's turn, Siphon's going to go off, which is interesting because it's going to take a damage from everything within range, so it's 3, 1, 2, 3. The heroes, like I said, get to ignore it from the campaign effect that I wrote down from going to the vampire town. I think we're technically vampires, 1, 2, 3. That one right there. And then the Dark Elf Pillager. The Dark Elf Pillager does have Rally. And then we are pulling out a level 10 enemy, so it's going to have 1 less health because of the enchantment. I wasn't supposed to discard this right away. It's at the end of the battle. So let's go ahead and get that enemy right now. All right, it's going to be this Nord Swordmaster, which has Intimidate and its native ability, which is really annoying, so it gets to go next. All right, both of these spaces are 1 space away, so if we would move them right here, it would attack both of them, but we don't want that to happen, so it's going to go right next to the Nord and use 2 dice. It does have Intimidate, so the Nord's going to get Fear, which is kind of annoying, but let's go ahead and roll the 2 dice. All right, as little damage as possible. It's not a big deal. We got 2 damage, and then the Fear goes through. Let's go ahead and remove the 2, 1, 2 right over there, and then give the Nord Fear. Just to mention, it would have also had its native ability give us Blind. We would refresh that first, and then go ahead and give us the Fear right here. We then change the round marker die to round 2. At the beginning of the Nord's turn, we recover 5 dice, so the 2 snipe dice, or 3 snipe dice, find us training, and the combat die right over there. We do have Fear and Blind, so we're going to have to try to get around it as much as possible. 1, 2, 3 over here, and lockpick the common cache right there. Ideally, getting an item that gets rid of one of those effects would be great. So we have to get a 2, 6, and 4 in 3 attempts. We got a 6 and a 4, and then we're going to spend the 1 Light Fatigue to bring this down to 2. So super good. Let's go ahead and see what we got. A Fusion of Stamina. No, this is not going to help us with anything that we have right now. We put the Light Fatigue right over there, and then the Fusion of Stamina right over here. We're then going to complete, so we remove this right here, complete our movement. We do have Blind, so we have to attack the enemy, the person, anyone next to us who has the highest health. It's going to be the Nord Pyromancer. We are going to engage. We are going to go back into our one-hand stance and use 5 combat skill dice. Those are the only skill dice we can use when we have Fear. So let's go to one hand right over there and then grab the 5 dice like that. Going to use the Bard's Stagger and Sway 1 Tenacity to ignore 1 armor. It now has 6 health and 1 armor. I don't think we can take it out, but let's go ahead and give it a shot. We did 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 damage, so we end up doing 5 damage. Let's remove the 5 right there, and then it has 1 health left. Let's go ahead and put all of these dice in the cooldown track right over here. Sorry for bumping it. Then going to use our class ability Lethal Arrow right here, but we have to spend a light fatigue to switch forms before we do it. And then it's only going to cost, because we have the Windwalker right here, only 1 tenacity, go down to 4. We're going to roll 2 enemy combat dice to do true damage. All right, we're just trying to do as much damage as possible. We got 2 damage. Let's go ahead and take 2 away from the Nord Swordmaster right there. All right, at the beginning of the high elf turn, we have a cooldown of 4. So let's go ahead and put all of these right over here like this. We're not going to engage anyone with the target. We're just going to roll the Daedric Curse, the Summon die, the Bound Armaments, and then the Expert Summoner. Daedric Curse is probably the most important one. Let's see what we get right here. We don't get it. We are close enough to the Bard to reroll, so that's going to be this one. We're just trying to do 1 true damage to the Nord Pyromancer. All right, we did not get it. Let's go ahead and summon real quick. We're going to go ahead and summon the Clan Fear right over there, like that. All right, so this die gets drained for summoning the Clan Fear. We're going to go ahead and get 3 tenacity right here to go all the way up to 5, like that. At the beginning of the Dark Elf turn, we recover 5 dice right over here, but we also get to move 5 first. So let's actually do start of turn first. We get to move 5 with Fleet Phantom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We are blind, but now we can go ahead and engage the Nord Swordmaster in a moment. Back to recovering 5. The over fatigue goes over here. So that's going to be these 5. So these all go back into their slots. And then we're going to engage the Nord Swordmaster. We're going to roll the 2 Force Shock dice right over here. And then we're also going to roll this Ancient Knowledge die. The Bard's going to go ahead and use Stagger and Sway for 1 tenacity, so there's 1 less armor. It has 4 health and 1 armor now, so we're trying to do 5 damage. Let's go ahead and see if we got it. We only got the 4 damage right here, and we're not close enough to do the reroll, but we're going to use the Silver Circlet class ability right here for 2 tenacity, so we get to re-roll or change the side of a die of a level 1 or 2 die to the side of our choice. We're going to change the Force Shock die, a level 1 die, to this over here. It does 4 damage, but then one of us is going to have to take a true damage. So now we got the 6 damage and tenacity. Let's go ahead and do that. It's enough to take out the Nord Swordmaster, and then we'll just have ourself take the 1 true damage right over there. Let's go ahead and place these 2 right over here, and then we get the 1 tenacity like that. The last up is the Imperial. They have a cooldown stat of 4, so we get to go ahead and remove all of these right over here. We're going to move 1 space here and engage the Nord Pyromancer. We're going to use the 3 Shield Discipline dice, and we're going to go ahead and use Shield Charge right there. Also, we're going to spend the 1 tenacity for Stagger and Sway. All we have to do is 1 damage, but it has 2 armor. Let's go ahead and see if we got it. We got 3 damage, so the 1 damage goes through, and we don't even need that. All right, that removes the Nord Pyromancer, and that's going to be the end of session 2. We do have some cleanup and a couple of things to do first. Okay, let's go ahead and put the 2 Shield Discipline dice up here. I guess this all goes down over here in the cooldown track. We do get 1 tenacity, but a lot of this is going to reset for session 3. All right, so first up, we did actually do the power of teamwork right here. So everyone's going to get 3 tenacity. I'm going to skip that because, like I said, it's going to reset for session 3. We do get the keyword speak for the trees. I'll write that down off camera. And then we are not in Valenwood. So we do complete this quest, which is a side quest. This would also give us a bonus later on when we're in a town inn, but we also won't get that because we're going to go to session 3. But because we completed that side quest, we get this token for step 3. And then step 4 is each adventurer must have a level 4 skill die trained. So we do have 4. So Bard Harder gets completed. So then everyone's going to get 5 tenacity. Again, it's moot. But then we will get 1 extra experience. And our Bard now gets to turn to their master class side. All right, so we finally get to flip this over here. And we get a lot of upgraded abilities right over here. All right, so we're going to get 2 experience here, 1 for the Bard Harder quest, so let's go ahead and do that. So it's 3. Imperial gets 3 experience. We could get like another Audacity die right over here, or another combat die, but we're going to save up for a cooldown track. We've been pretty good with Imperial for a bit. The Dark Elf's going to get 3 experience, go all the way up to 4. I kind of want cooldown, but you can't save extra. You would have to spend it on tenacity, which ends up going away at the end of this session. So we're going to spend 1 experience right over here to get 1 health. So we're going to put that right there and then add the health right away, right over there. The health goes all the way up to 6 experience, and we're going to spend 5 of it to go down to 1 to get a cooldown stat of 5 now. And then last up, the Nord's going to go to 4 experience. We still want cooldown, but we can't oversave experience, so we're going to spend 1 on this particular Wrecking Blow die. We then changed the experience from 29 to 32 like that. All right, now for the end of this session, we got the keyword recover reagent right here. So we wrote that down. I think we have gain ally, Karzug, Gra Magul right there, recover reagent, and then we got a small one, speak for the trees. So yeah, we now are going to be searching out Delandra. We're probably going to have to defeat her. We're going to stay in Morrowind for session 3. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Good night.